Hey everyone, so I just did a stream like this, but the music was way too loud and the text was way too small. So I'm going to do it again, and hopefully this time it will be a bit better. Just getting used to live streaming. So what we're going to be building is this example from this Adorable Avatars website, which is basically a random avatar generator, and you can move this slider up and down, which changes this URL, which updates the size of the avatar, and you can also change the name here and it will return you a random avatar for that name. So this is what we're going to try and replicate with SwiftUI. So let's go ahead and jump right into it, and I've already set up a project here and I've just got a struct avatar view. So the first thing we're going to do is define our image, or avatar image, and we're going to use an @state. We're not going to use any architecture here particularly. So this is going to be avatar image, and this is going to be of type UI image. Let's make it an optional, and we can now remove this text hello world, and we're going to do everything in our canvas here because we shouldn't need to use a simulator, at least until the end when we actually test the app. But if we go to our body now and we say if let avatar image equals avatar image, we can create an image here with the UI image initializer and pass in our avatar image. Else we're just going to display a move the slider message, because when they move the slider we are going to then trigger the call. Not sure what's wrong with that. Probably fine. Okay, so we've got our avatar image, and what we're going to do is actually go and get this image now using the URL on the website here. So let's copy this over and have that ready. And we're going to create a class API service, which is going to be an observable object here, and this is going to have a function called fetch avatar, and we're going to pass in the name of the avatar and the value, so we can have this as maybe the size. And we're not going to return a completion or anything like this because we are going to have an app published var image data, which will be a data here, and inside our fetch avatar we're going to have a URL session.shared.data task with URL, and again we're not too worried about the code quality, so we can grab this URL now and stick it in here as a string and then force unwrap that, and we are going to just get the data here because I am more interested in showing you how quickly you can prototype with SwiftUI than the quality. And we're going to assign our image data here. So now when this gets triggered we want to update our image. So the final thing we need to do here before we forget is call resume on our data task, and we can now use our API service as an @state object, private var API service. And again, you probably don't want to inject your service or use your service right in your view here, but to show the example I'm fine with it. And we're going to say if let image data equals API service dot image data, let avatar image, and then we're going to have a UI image data, and then we can use that image data we've just unwrapped, and we can pass that in just like it is at the moment. And what we need to do is work out when to trigger this API service. And if you look at our website, I think the best thing to do is trigger it when they move the slider. So what we can do is say have a VStack, wrap it around our image and text there, and we can put the slider at the top with a value of slider value, and let's define that up here as an @state private var slider value. It's going to be a double. Start it halfway along because it's going to be a value between 0 and 1, and then we can use something called onChange of slider value. We're going to perform something. So here we're going to say API service.fetch avatar, and let's just pass in some dummy values. So this means every time the user changes the value of the slider, we're going to call our URL here. It's going to assign our image data, and it's going to update our image here. So let's actually just try and resume our canvas here. So there we go, and if we run it, we do get an image back, but nothing happens because we've hard-coded our size and our name of our avatar. So the next thing to do is tidy this up a bit. So we're going to have a navigation title, random avatar, and let's wrap our preview in a navigation view like this, and we can have a spacer at the bottom so it pushes our slider up so it looks a bit better, and let's add some padding to our slider there. Okay, so we've managed to retrieve one avatar. Now let's actually retrieve it with different sizes here. So we're going to have a function. Let's put it down here. We can get rid of this URL now. Private func update avatar. And we want this to work on any device, so we're going to convert our slider value to an absolute value based on the width of the device. So for example, if we're using a phone with 375 pixels, we're going to do 0.5 times 375. So we can basically put in our update avatar function a width, and this will be a CG float, and we want to say let width equal slider value times width. And now that we have our width relative to the screen size, this is a CG float and this is a double, so let's just turn this into a double. We can now make our API call, so we can say fetch avatar with our width, and this is going to expect an int, so let's just wrap that in an int there. So now we've done this, we can update our size here. Rather than a hard-coded value, we can put the slider value in here, and it will do we want to convert this to a double? We don't want to convert it to an int here. We want to call the update avatar function we just wrote, and now we need to get the width. So in order to get the width, we want to use something called geometry reader. Which we're going to wrap around like so, and we're going to say proxy.size.width, and this will give us essentially the screen width. So now when we call our fetch avatar, it should give us the correct size relative to the width. So let's resume this and see if the size actually changes. And have we done? Nope. We need to change this hard-coded value, so let's do that and pass in the size here. And let's try again. So there we go. But it seems to be pretty laggy. So it is actually working, but I think what's happening is it's making too many requests and it's lagging because the slider is just moving too quickly and making too many URL calls there. So what we're going to do is write a debouncer so that it only makes this call every point something of a second. So let's go class debouncer, and this is going to have a private var current work item, which will be a dispatch work item, and it's going to have a function debounce, which will take an action, which in our case will be this call. And what we want to do in the debounce is if there is a current work item, we want to cancel it, and then we want to dispatch queue dot main dot async after deadline, and let's put a delay in. So this is probably going to be, I don't know, 0.2. And then we're going to execute our work item. And we can force unwrap that because we know it's there. And we can say here self.currentWorkItem is going to be equal to a dispatch work item with a block of whatever action we're going to pass in. And we need to make that escaping. And then in this fetch avatar function, instead of just calling this every time, we can save the task here, and we can say debouncer.debounce task.resume, and let's define our debouncer here. Oops. And now we can try and run this, and let's see if it's a bit smoother. I mean, it feels like it's a bit, 2.2 seconds is a bit too slow. Let's reduce it to 0.1. Okay, that's not too bad. It's a lot smoother. So now we can clip it. So let's come to the image here and just say clip shape circle. So hopefully it will look a bit nicer. That's pretty cool. And the final thing I think we want to do is actually be able to change this avatar. So what we can do is at the top of our VStack here, we can have a text field. Yeah, I think moving the nose, I think it's just a static image, so I think we can change the image, but we can't move the nose, unfortunately. So we're going to have a text field. This will have some, we want the binding, yeah, here. This is going to be some avatar name, like this. Let's just keep it as James for the default. And what we can do is we can use the same thing here on change of avatar name. Let's call this update avatar with our width. And in our update avatar now we can update this to include the name here. So we can say avatar name like this. And then we need to update our name here. Like so. Name. And if we want to tidy this up, we can add an H stack and text. So avatar name. Let's just realign all that and try again. There we go. Let's add some padding to the H stack. There we go. And if we bring the image up and then change this, I'm hoping it was going to change the avatar, but it doesn't. And why is that? Let's think about this. The name. Let's run the app, not on an iPod Touch, on an iPhone 11. And see what the issue is. Ah, okay. So we're not dispatching to the main thread here. So hopefully that solves the issue. Let's run it on the app again. Nope. So if we put some print statements in, we might work out what's going on here. Ah, I've typed avatar image there. It needs to be avatar name. So now, when we change this, there we go, that's nice. So that's pretty cool. Well, I think it is. And looks like we're missing our navigation view here, so let's wrap that in that. So there we go. And I think that took less than 20 minutes, and I'm pretty sure with UIKit that would have taken a lot longer. So I'm pretty happy with that, and I hope it shows just the potential of SwiftUI really. And I'll see you all for the next